All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So in this one, I wanted to really talk about some of the standout players in the second preseason game against the Carolina Panthers, right, from the New York Jets, of course. Now, the first player I want to get into is somebody who I actually didn't talk about at all in the recap video. It's Olu Fashanu. Now, Olu, look, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he was flat out dominant at right tackle or anything, but I will say this. For a left tackle to get his first opportunity, his first game at the starting right tackle position in a preseason game, and mind you, he's still learning the NFL, going up against different competition and whatnot. It's brand new. This is not year 2, year 3, like a Will McDonald, right, who's been in training camp for a year plus. This is still really, really new. I thought he did a great job for what he was asked to do, right? I think it's downplayed a lot in the media, the swapping between left tackle to right tackle, like, oh, anybody can do it. It's true. There's so much more that goes into it. And Olu has been practicing all week at right tackle. And, for me personally, I would just keep Olu at left tackle. But my opinion is not important here. It's what the Jets' opinion is. And the Jets' opinion is, hey, we want to make Olu the swing tackle for the season. We're going to, give him snaps and tons of practices at right tackle too, so he gets accustomed there. So in the event that Tyron Smith is healthy and good to go, but Morgan Moses is hurt, Olu's going to be the team's starting right tackle. So from that point of view, again, this is just the reality that we're in. You want to see Olu do well, and that's exactly what he did. Now, he did have a holding early on, and at one point he did get beat early on in the game, but I felt like he recovered really, really nicely. And again, first game at right tackle, I think, ever. So, how much can you really get down on a player because of that? So anyway, Olu Fashanu, first player up here. Next up, Zire Barnes led the team in tackles with 7. Man, he was fast. He was flying around the football field. At points, he would just shoot right up the middle and make a hit, right? Wrapping up an open field. I thought Barnes was electric tonight. One thing that I really, really love about this linebacking core, Barnes plus everybody else, is that they play like their hair's on fire, right? It almost seems like everybody has adopted the Quincy Williams mindset, just that ferocity, right? Like, I'm gonna hit the opponent, I'm gonna make sure he knows I'm here, physically impose your will, right? Just flat out dominate. From a physical standpoint, you don't just go in for you don't just go in softly for a tackle. Like, you go as hard as you can. Like, you play every single game, every single snap like it's your last game. Like, this is it. Like, you're gonna have to call it a career after it. That's how Quincy Williams plays every single down. And one thing that I've kind of noticed about and Chaz Surratt has always played like that, but it just kind of seems like this offseason specifically, all the linebackers, Aguavon, again, Surratt, Barnes, Sherwood as well, they're flying around the football field, not afraid of contact at all. They'll come up and stick you. Wide receiver, tight end, running back, quarterback, scrambling. Doesn't matter. The linebackers are just flying around. So I felt like today was a good statement game for Zire Barnes. Next up is Isaiah Davis, right? Somebody who looked quick. He looked explosive. Somebody that just pops with the football in his hands. And I remember in the recap video, I mentioned that he kind of reminds me of one of those like Bill Belichick types of players from all those years ago, right? Where they would draft like a running back in the mid to late rounds, and nobody would really, outside of the Patriots fan base, nobody would really acknowledge the pick all that much. I'm talking like national media wise. But you would watch New England play, and right, as Jets fans, you're always kind of watching New England, division rival. We play them 2 times a year, and you obviously want your division rivals to lose. So you're always tuning in to New England. But the point is, you would always see these random, again, mid to late round picks just burst out onto the scene. Like, where did this guy come from? How did the Patriots find this gem? And it was specifically, sometimes it was at DB, but most of the time it was at the running back position, where these guys are just do-it-all types of players, right? They could run inside, run outside, they can catch the football, they can block, they can help out in special teams. You never really know where they're going with the football. Typically they're on the shorter end, but they're strong yet fast. Isiah Davis checks all of those boxes, right? I mean, he's so much fun to watch. He kind of has the and look, I don't want to sit here and call him like a top 5, top 10 running back. I don't want to hype it up too much, but just in these 2 preseason games, I am pleasantly surprised with the amount of acceleration that Isiah Davis has. Like when he bends the corner to the outside and kind of gets his body parallel with the end zone, he could turn on the Jets and move. I really like that, and you watch him just in like the simple slip screens, like he's out of the backfield like freaking immediately. But the cool thing is he's not built like a like a Darren Sproles. He's bigger. He doesn't just fly back immediately. He's not like ducking, trying to get down really quick. Think of like there's been so many types of receivers that look to step out of bounds. Stephon Diggs is one of them. They'll go down, maybe shy away from trying to get that extra yard or two. And I'm not talking about extending the ball out. I'm talking about literally falling down and letting the opponent tap him while he's on the ground, so he avoids a big hit. On one hand, it's smart from a health perspective, but on the other, if that player is caught in open space, or if they played 20 years ago and they were going over the middle, they were going to get stuck by a linebacker. Bottom line, Isiah Davis really seems like a go-to gadgety type of player that we can utilize in so many different areas, right? Again, pass game, running game, and special teams. This is looking like a really good find. And so I wanted to talk about just a couple of honorable mentions. Quantez Stiggers, I thought looked really good. I thought Jaylen Key, even though he only recorded, I think it was 1 or 2 tackles, I felt like it was really important to get him more opportunities because of what he showed in week 1. And, again, from a safety's perspective, I thought he did a great job. He was always around the football. His pre-snap kind of nuances or mannerisms, you could tell he was on the quarterback's mind. He's just a well-coached player. Like, you can tell that with Jaylen Key coming from Alabama. Like, he has a lot of tricks up his sleeve, and you match that with the physical ability. After watching him play, I'm shocked, absolutely shocked he fell to round 7. Not calling him a top 20 pick or anything, but last pick in the draft, I mean, he looks like a 4th or 5th rounder, based off these 2 preseason games. So huge finds so far, huge find. But I think the player that needs to get some recognition here is Brandon Cordington, return specialist, right? Nickel corner, back up to Michael Carter. I mean, you want to talk about making the most of your opportunities. 1 kickoff opportunity, 1 kickoff run back, 60+ yards, explosive as hell. Turned on the Jets and was moving, right? He looked really fast, really explosive. Punt returns, how many did he have? 2, 40+ yards there. So 1 player, Brandon Cordington, on special teams alone, recorded over 100 yards. Think about that if that was a regular season game. Field positioning, the game that it was a close matchup in the end, right? Score wise, would the Jets have won this game if it wasn't for Cordington and his yards that he gave the New York Jets, his 100+ yards that he gave the Jets by himself? Well, I don't want to say by himself because of course there were blockers and whatnot, but you guys know what I mean. If you just erase that, right, and you just call it, we'll substitute that 100 yards with just fair catches, do the Jets win the game? Without those yards? I don't know. I don't think so. Again, put yourself in the shoes of, or fast forward and think about if this is week 3 against New England, right? And you have a guy on special teams give you 60+ yards on a kickoff and 40+ yards in punt return yardage. That is monumental. So it needs to be talked about. Brandon Cordington, how many corners are you really going to keep on the roster? You're probably not going to be keeping a whole lot, but damn, tonight, like, he really made the most of his opportunities. I feel like tonight pretty much locked him up for a practice squad spot. Like, this is the type of game where when coaches are, when Solin and Joe Doug, when everybody's cutting down the roster, they're gonna when they have the 3 games to analyze, they can go back and say, what, who's the guy that gave us over 100 yards on special teams? Cordington. Who's the guy that looked fast, who looked electric, who hasn't been, disappointing, who has had a good camp so far? It's Cordington. So really impressive, and we shall see what happens this week against the New York Giants. Anyway, let me know your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, go Jets.